night out, had a bad day, playing my guitar in the rain. Played good music, but they didn't seem to like it. They ain't ever gonna see me again. You know I would dig.
When I was in my 20s, I was a student nurse in a mental hospital, and I met Don Partridge, the busker. This charge nurse took us to this pub where this all-star football team was drinking after playing the local team, and Don Partridge was amongst the crew. He was one of the team, and we got him to sing Rosie, which he had in the charts at the time, and he was a street musician. He was a one-man band. And he said, get up on the streets. He said, 150 quid a week, you know. And so we thought, oh, we'll have some of that. Because back then, you know, I was on about £8.50 a week as a student nurse. So we went up into London, and we ended up in Petticoat Lane playing. But you couldn't stand and play. You had to walk, because it was there was a bylaw saying nobody could stand and, you know, do it. So we were walking up and down. We wasn't earning any money, half a crown an hour or something. But I loved it. As soon as I did it, I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do, you know, and I've done it ever since. And I'm now 72. I'm still doing it.
Bad Leroy Brown, baddest man in the whole damn town, badder than old King Kong, meaner than a junkyard dog.
I lived in Sandwich in Kent, and one day we used to bunk into the pictures. So one of my friends went into the pictures and opened the door, because he was old enough to go in and see an X film, and we were only kids, so we wasn't old enough. So he would go in and open the back door, and we'd sneak in the back door. And I went in one time, and it was a vampire film with Christopher Lee playing Dracula, and it scared the shits out of me. I'm sorry about it, but it scared me. I was petrified. And I had to walk up this really dark street to get home, and there was these factories on the left, and some what they called bungalows on the right. And so the factories had these dark windows and inset doorways, you know, where I knew they were in there. I bloody knew he was in there waiting for me. And so I'd start singing going up the road so loud, so that if my voice stopped, the people in the little houses would come out and check me out, you see. And that was my reasoning. And so I'd just go home singing at the top of my voice up this road. And then it got a bit boring, so I learned how to yodel and stuff like that, you know. And that's how I learned to sing, really. It's out of the fear of vampires. Is that the right one? Is it? Up until I became a musician, I was no good with women. I was actually no good with them at all. I couldn't put a bird to save my life, you know. But when you start singing, then they take notice, and you can.
There was an instant chemistry there, I would say. We saw each other, and I thought, well, you know, I really liked him. I really liked the look of him. He was singing when I first saw him in the pub, and I think, well, the feeling was definitely mutual. So. Yeah, my first impressions were very good, and pretty much stayed the same most of the time since then.
The band was cooking, the place was heaving, I was cooking too. It was a fine country evening, it was Saturday night. Everything was alright. You walked in, everything changed. Something happened that was very, very strange. I met love. The music faded, the people disappeared. I'd never experienced this kind of thing in all my years. It was freedom gone. Nothing could be done. I was locked in a feeling, into the wall. But you know I didn't seem to mind it at all. I met love. You let me go through my changes, find my identity. Whatever direction, that's where you went with me. Whenever I screwed up, you never complained. You just took the pain. Now that was 35 years ago. We're still cooking. Whenever I look at you, honey, you seem to get more good looking and a closer friend. I guess this is to the end. But you know I wouldn't have it any other way. And I thank God for that very special day I met you.
Well, when we travelled Europe, you know, we were hitchhiking and stuff, and we were getting in lorries, and the lorry driver wanted to get to my woman.
It was in France. We got picked up probably about 1 o'clock in the morning by a very large lorry driver.
Stupidly, I let Ellen get in first. So she was sitting in the middle.
And he started touching my leg, and it was getting a little bit worrying.
Then he stopped the lorry and asked me to get out and check the rear light. You see? So I said, get out, Ellen. So she got out first and I followed her. Anyway, eventually we got back in, but this time I got in first and she sat near the door.
I was able to speak a little bit of French, and I asked this lorry driver to drop us at where there was a light. And because it was pitch black, it was the middle of the night in the middle of nowhere in France. And anyway, fortunately, he dropped us, let us out.
We ended up sleeping in a field. We just unrolled the sleeping bag in this field, and it was we couldn't see what it was at night. It was just a field. It was grass, so we laid down and got into the sleeping bag. And in the morning when we woke up, we found we were in the middle of a rugby pitch in a boys' school, and they were all coming out to play rugby. So we had to very hastily get clothes on because we weren't sleeping with clothes on, and so we're inside the sleeping bag pulling on the clothes, and then we just got the hell out of there as quick as we could, really, and got a lift with a lorry driver who was carrying bananas, and he gave us all these bananas for breakfast, which was really nice.
Forever young, forever young, oh may you stay forever.
I think it's great for them. I mean, we travelled, we just put them in the back of the van and go off, and they, you know, I'd go down to Ramsgate or somewhere along the south coast, we'd busk, and then I'd just put all the copper to one side and they'd go down and play the machines with the copper and stuff. And so they had a really good time, and they got plenty of time off school. We went over to Europe a few times and down to Ibiza and south of France and stuff. And they thrived. It was good for them because they travelled and they met people, had experiences that other children don't really have. So you know, they were really good. It was really good.
I think it's made them strong. You know, it's given them strength because when you're a bit different from other people and not quite doing, when your family's a bit different and not quite as acceptable as the norm, I think it makes you stronger because you have to cope with what goes with it, and so generally I think it's been good for them.
I think it affected me positively overall. There's a couple of times when I was slightly embarrassed about what he did for a living, but he wasn't just a busker. He played in the pubs and clubs and things as well. He made an album when I was 6 or something, so he was a little bit of a local celebrity. So whilst the kids at school might have thought he was a bit of a tit, their parents all thought he was great. So the older I got and, started going to pubs and that, older people would come up and go, "Oh, your dad's Min, oh, blah, blah, blah." I think it gave us a better way of dealing with people. Because when you're on the receiving end of shit, you're more inclined to, you know, not dish it out quite so much. Well, maybe it was just us, I don't know. When I was little, you know, I was at school and I just really wanted to be like normal kids, you know. I wanted my dad to work in a factory, or, you know, I loved him and, you know, I loved what he did, but being honest, I just wanted him to have like a normal, boring job. But then, as I got a bit older, I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I'm so glad that's what he did, because it meant we had such an interesting life, you know, travelling around, meeting people, and yeah, so wouldn't swap it.
As far as being a kid, I think it was probably really an amazing thing, because it meant that, like, me and the girls we had our father around all the time, so it was like, in that respect, it was quite nice, and we would go to the different towns, and then we'd go around the shops, or in the case of when we went down south, we would go around amusement arcades and stuff like this, and then we'd go back and we'd meet up with him, and he'd be there playing away. So in that respect, it was nice, because it brought us all together, you know. I think mainly the inspiration he gave me was just kind of how you can approach life being a musician, you know.
If you leave the mud, well, it will dry. Then brush it off with a sweet goodbye, and you'll go home in peace and sleep tonight. Sweetless words and take more time. If you do, well, I'm sure you'll find peace all mine.
Freedom. You know, you call your own shots. You get up in the morning, you think, well, do I want to do something today, or don't I want to do something today, you know? Or if you have a really good day today, you think, oh, well, I'll go and spend it tomorrow, you know? So it's sort of like, it's just total freedom. Wherever you go, you eat. Any country, music is universal. Even if you're singing English, you wherever you go, if your voice is good quality and your sound's good, people respond and pay you some money, you know? So, and you always eat. And yeah, but you don't always save money, because that's not what life's about. I mean, life's about living it, really, rather than saving up to live it later. Live it now, you know. That's what, you know, a lot of people, they save up and 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 work and work and work and work and work, and then they die, and they've never had a life. So all they've ever done is earn money, and so you've got to find a life that gives you a life where you can laugh and lay in the sun and stuff, you know. You go down with the sunshines and lay in it, you know. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, so that's good. That's the best thing about busking, is the freedom.
Have my own road crew, leaving nothing to do but to play, being a star. But things like that don't happen to a street singer. His audience is a cinema cue, or a stand in the streets, guitar back at his feet, hoping for another